do roll call now?
Uh-huh.
I think.
Bailey,
Present.
Cochran,
Here.
good friend,
Present.
Hoda, Lunkins, Klein,
Here.
and Smith.
Yeah.
Okay, we move on to approval of agenda and order of business. There isn't any changes to the, oh no, an approval of consent agenda. Move on to
Second.
approval of minutes. We all agree? Say aye.
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 Shoot. Okay, and approval of personnel actions.
It's all under consent agenda.
You said go to approval of consent agenda?
I say it's under consent agenda.
Oh, yeah. Approval of personnel action, 3B. And then we move on to reports from Dr. Hitchcock.
Okay, good evening,
Good evening.
Vice President Bailey, trustees and members of the community. I have just very few brief updates today, and some of them are about the accomplishments of our students, which I'm very excited about. Our football team that had a particularly rough regular season has been doing quite well in the playoffs, and they are headed to the district quarterfinals versus Wyandotte, which is against Roosevelt High School in Wyandotte. So they will play them this Friday at Wyandotte's home field, because they have home field advantage because of their record. So we are wishing them well and hope that they continue to be successful in the playoffs. And we had 2 students participate this past weekend in the track state championship. Kylie King, on our state cross country championship, Kylie King and Camry Cooper, and they were OAA White Division League champs in all regions. Kylie was about 49 out of 252 students that were running, and Camry was about 79 out of 252 students. Kylie is a freshman, and she has been doing very, very well, quite successful. So we are proud of all of our student accomplishments and want them to keep up the great work. In the spirit of discussing athletics, I think it's important to mention, just in this public fashion with the community on the call this evening, that when we initially approved our return to school plan, it involved following the guidance of the Michigan High School Athletics Association. And we are still following that guidance. Now, we know that we are hearing more and more about how the COVID cases are worsening in the area. And I just want to make sure that we bring to the attention of the board that we are planning to move forward with the winter season according to our original plan that was approved by the board. It would mean that since we're following the MHSAA guidelines, that the basketball team, both girls and boys, would participate, as well as competitive cheer would participate this winter. So I have mixed feelings about this. Of course, we are taking every safety precaution possible, meeting with our district nurse, meeting with our athletic coordinator and the administration. But as the cases appear to continue to rise, we may have to come back to the board at our next board meeting and have you make a decision on whether or not we should continue with the winter sports schedule. I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that that was what was in the original plan, that we follow the MHSA guidelines and what that means, you know, bring to light that that means that students would continue to participate in winter sports. Then on a really happy note, we were remiss in not recognizing the Hoyta family. They had a little girl in late September who was 8 pounds and 13 ounces, 21 inches. And her name is Tehila. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And then Mike at Admission had another little girl. Well, Mike at Admission had a little girl. He has a son now. And he had her, or his family had her last night on November 8th. And she's also 8 pounds, 9 ounces, and 20 inches long. And her name is Lillian. So we would like to congratulate both the Hoyta and Adamison families for their new little bundles of joy, and hope that they are able to get some sleep. Mr. Klein, I saw you take your phone off of mute. Do you have the correct pronunciation for Menachem's daughter?
Yeah, you said it right. Tehila.
Oh, nice. Okay, scored one big. Those years of being a substitute helped out. All right, so those are all of the comments that I have tonight. In terms of the athletics report, that information that I shared, I'll put the additional information in the board update, and the board can make an official decision at our next board meeting. I think that will be sufficient in providing a couple weeks to see where things go in terms of the cases in our area, and give us an opportunity to make a decision with the other schools in the Oakland County area that we would be competing against as to what we feel most comfortable with. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hitchcock. Does anyone have any questions? Any board members have any questions for Dr. Hitchcock?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
It might be phenomenally premature, but has the school district considered at all how the big Pfizer announcement today is going to impact our plans going forward?
We have not discussed that because it seems so preliminary. Of course, after work hours, I was interested in the stock shares. Aside from that, I'm not sure if that's going to help us this year, because my understanding is that even when a vaccine is finally created, it will go to first responders and the elderly. And so I'm not sure if we're going to make it in time in order to benefit from the vaccine this school year. But those are just my thoughts. Who knows? I mean, we're in Operation Warp Speed, so anything is possible. And we are definitely interested if there's a vaccine or testing measures that we can take. We would be interested in either, but we haven't discussed that beyond my thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other board members have questions for Dr. Hitchcock? Okay, we'll continue with reports. We move on to 4B. We have Ms. Cassandra Baptiste.
Good evening, all. Just reporting out the highlight of last week, which was our professional development opportunity that took place district-wide. Paraprofessionals, special education department, all teachers, all ancillary staff went to some form of professional development throughout the course of the day, addressing social emotional learning, tips and tricks with a continuation of online learning. And then also a special highlight, there was a focus on evaluations, and we had Colin Ripmaster of the Massachusetts Association for Supervisors and Principals support our work. And that it was just a really wonderful day of learning and exchange. And we met our target of participation for the NWEA assessment. We have 95% of meeting our target for grades K through 8. That was a goal that we had set forth. We met it at 97%. And so we're going to be disaggregating data and would like to be able to share a data presentation with the board, ideally in the next board meeting. I think it's high time to do some comparative analysis and also ways in which we can support our teachers, our learners, our parents with, data underway. And then finally, our Teaching and Learning Council is scheduled to begin November 17th. And we sent out a survey last week. We're going to be, helping to select staff. And we've decided that it would be a really great idea to have administration, teachers, paraprofessionals, representation from all of our stakeholder instructional staff groups. And that is the presentation from the Teaching and Learning Department.
All righty. Does any members of the board have any questions for our Assistant Superintendent of Teaching?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead, Trustee Smith.
Yes, Ms. Baptiste, I just was curious here. It's basically nothing in pertaining to what you just reported in your communication just now. I know due to some reasons, one or the other, that we canceled out the PSAT testing. And want to find out, will we be rescheduling that anytime soon, the PSATs?
To my understanding, the PSATs took place in person at the beginning of October. And I don't know of any rescheduling that had to take place. Students did take both PSAT and SAT.
Yeah, there was a cancellation that was sent out.
Of one.
That was a makeup.
Yeah, those were makeup. But
Yeah.
Fortunately, we didn't have to actually cancel the tests.
Right.
We just determined those were voluntary makeups.
Right.
And so we didn't have to actually go and seek out permission to reschedule the actual test.
Will there be another one coming anytime soon, or that we know of?
No, because I believe the testing window has closed out.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, I had a Ortiz, you said that there was data coming soon for the K through 8th. Will we be receiving anything for the 9th through 12th?
So we, through MDE, we do not have to administer the NWEA, but we choose to do so historically. And so we do have data from the NWEA for 9 through 12. For the extended COVID-19 learning plan, the target that the state set forth was K-8. But when we do present data to you, we will be presenting information because we asked the high school to also engage in testing.
Thank you.
Yes.
If there's no other questions from the board, we move on to 4C, Mr. Steve Barr, Chief Finance and Operations Officer.
Thank you. Good evening. Tonight we're going to give you a brief technology update that we think is very relevant, considering we have over $1 million brought to you tonight for approval. And as we've explained in various memos and communications with the board, we're transitioning to having Oakland schools help lead the technology department. So before I turn it over to Ryan Velzy from Oakland Schools and Jim Nye, and I know I have Tommy Burton in there also, I want to thank everyone in technology back to the middle of March, if not further back. It was quite a task to get 3,000 or so computers, almost 1,000 hotspots, FedEx delivering these things day after day after day. Carol Diglio was in the high school along with several staff members helping to really, we created our own little processing plant in the high school to get things out, but it wasn't going to happen if we didn't have Jim Nye heading this up, Tommy Burton, Amy Craig, the whole department assisted. It wasn't assisting. It was a fast forward while we're right in the middle of some of the peak part of COVID. So I thank them right now. And then at that time, we also turned to Oakland schools for some extra help and to help get some of these computers basically redeployed from a laptop to a Chromebook so we can get them out to students as soon as we could. And I'd say, could we have gone faster? I don't know, but it was pretty darn fast how we got close to 3,000 devices out. So I want to give a chance for the tech department to give an update of where we're at. You'll see in a second, they're going to explain to you what we've done in the tech department, where we're going, and then I'll follow up at the end of that in the next agenda item, which is what we're bringing to you tonight, just like a holistic high-level view. So I'm going to turn it over to Ryan Velzy. Ryan is the Director of Tech Operations from Oakland Schools. Ryan, take it away.
All right. Good evening, board. Good evening, community. Glad to be here to share with you a technology update. As Steve said, we've been working with the district over the last couple of months during this unprecedented time. As Steve said, the demands on technology are great, the greatest I've seen in my career with the invent of COVID. With this update, this is kind of like a historical last couple of months what the technology department has been working on. So you guys, the board approved teacher devices. Those were HP laptops. And those are now on site in Oak Park. The deployment actually started today. We're doing that from windows outside of the drive up to a window outside of Oak Park High School. And the teachers and staff have time slots that they're signing up for, and we're swapping out devices. And we have brought in some additional help from Oakland schools. We've also deployed over 5,500 student devices in April and September, deployed devices to paras, deployed, this is a large number, 900 mobile wireless hotspots. So those are the cellular connections that come to provide, the connection between the laptop and the internet. And in the community and, with remote education, that's so important to have those mobile wirelesses available for the community. We also took some additional steps to convert some legacy laptops, some laptops that the district previously had. Those are Windows devices, and we were able to convert those over to Chrome. Chrome gives us really an internet-based operating system to be able to support students, and it's kind of zero touch to be able to support that. So we deployed 3,000 of those. And during this process, we've also as technology needs have come up, there's been various needs, people, teachers working remotely, administration working remotely. We've purchased small miscellaneous items to support the overall effort of this, the way we're working right now. So on top of that, before assisting Oak Park, Jim did a great job. Jim Nye, technology director, did a great job with getting E-rate approval or filing all the paperwork for the E-rate approval of a new firewall for Oak Park. You approved that firewall in a previous board meeting in the spring, April of 2020. And that has now shipped. We went ahead and placed that order. It shipped. It's due in November. And we'll be assisting Oak Park schools in the installation of that and the deployment of that. That firewall will give us some additional protections in our environment in Oak Park. It'll, a lot of the times you hear malware, ransomware. That's what the next generation firewalls do. They provide a level of security that you don't have in place today. So that's a security enhancement that will be coming. As far as classroom, so now we have really classroom technology. We've been working on a model classroom in the high school, and we've been working on 3 major areas. And like Steve said, at the end of my presentation, he'll go over those purchases. So there's 77 classrooms in the district that really have an aged out or antiquated Promethean board. So we've identified 77 of those, and we're looking to upgrade, for you to approve the upgrade of those Promethean displays to the current model. And that will give the district a huge advantage in terms of the teaching and learning that can go on, whether it be when we're all remote or whether we're all back in front of students in our traditional format. These Prometheans will be a benefit to the teaching and learning folks. Another huge deployment will be the sound amplification systems in every single classroom. That is what that system is. It's a microphone that the staff would wear around their neck, and it's connected to an audio system mounted in the corner of the classroom with 4 speakers. And you can also take input from the computer. You can take input from other sources and deploy that. So the object is to make sure that there's clear, consistent voice coming from the teacher or the student. The students could share, maybe not in today's era with COVID, but that is a possibility to get some student mics too. So in terms of the third item, that's really technology for the classrooms. That purchase is putting together, tying all the pieces of those new laptops together. It's giving the teachers a kind of a station in the classroom. We're calling it a docking monitor. So it provides the age-old thing about a dock, and it also provides a monitor all in one piece. So that's called the docking monitor. And then also the document cameras. The document cameras really are like a way to amplify or display some artifact that the teacher might have. It provides the display of it on the Promethean board. And those document cameras that are currently deployed are no longer supported with the way that they're kind of wired into the system. So we had to look at upgrading those document cameras. And then as a small purchase that won't be coming to the board, most likely is student headphones. But as we continue to do a lot of testing, we'll need to replenish the supply on headphones. And another note, as we move through kind of the technology adoption model with Oakland schools, we're looking at a targeted rollout of the Oakland Schools Service Desk. That'll be a new rollout for the district, and the availability of that comes in multiple options. So a teacher can either call, email, get self-service through a ticket portal or instant chat. We've rolled out instant chat about a year ago, and we've seen that be our largest way of getting support during these times of COVID and everybody's busy. So that's available from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And what that will do is free up the Oak Park team, the staff that's actually in Oak Park, to focus on the really boots on the ground, the work that actually takes hands and visitation of a staff member to resolve the issue. Because as I said in my slide, the goal is to resolve 80% of the items immediately. So when that staff or teachers having a problem, they can get support live, and hopefully we can bring resolution and move on to the next thing. So at this point, if there's any questions, please ask them. Thank you.
So that's just a high level of what's coming. If it's okay, I'll just continue with the next part of my report, which is very quick. Is, as Ryan mentioned, we're recommending tonight the purchase of various technologies for the district. There's memos in your packet from Ryan that explain each of the purchases that we're recommending. Oak Park Schools has received close to $4 million. $4 million in COVID-related funds, primarily federal funds. They might pass through the state, they might pass through Oakland County. That doesn't even take into account the nursing support that we're receiving on top of that. Some of these CARES, they're calling the CARES Act grants, require us to spend the money by this December. I don't know what the rush is. We're required to spend it by December. It doesn't mean approval. That means we have to spend it, meaning we receive it in district, and in most cases install it, which is why we're asking you to expeditiously approve these bids tonight. Every districts around the state are having the problem of, what do you spend it on? You still have bidding requirements. You have cooperative bids. So again, these purchases that are going to come before you in a few minutes are 100% funded by COVID grants. Not $1 comes from, I will call it a general fund, pot of money that's used for classrooms. This is a great thing to be able to do. The audio enhancement systems, a nice perk there is the day that we're back in school with teachers, whether it's kids, January 19th, March 19th, whenever it is, people are going to be wearing masks. They like literally wearing masks. Well, now a teacher can amplify even better when you're talking through a mask with a microphone there. Districts for many years, 10, 20 years, have had amplification systems without masks. This makes even more necessary. So I'll leave it there. Just to give you an update. This has really given us the opportunity to really upgrade the district in various ways that will help teachers, parapros, students, families, and the community. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Trustee Goodfriend. Like to say something.
Thank you very much. Mr. Barr, and in other words, you're saying all of these purchases, the enhanced audio enhancement, the technology equipment, the Promethean boards, as well as the Promethean upgrades, that's all coming from the CARE Act?
It's coming from various funds. There's CARES Act, there's like 5 different buckets, and you can put them under the umbrella of COVID-19 grants. But some are called CARES, some are called GEAR, some are called ESSER, but they're all federally funded, whether they're CARES or other ones. But yes, in addition to the things that were mentioned at the beginning, like all those Chromebooks that the board approved, the laptops, that all came out of those funds. That's correct, Ms. Goodfriend.
Okay. So in other words, thank you so much for that answer. I'm understanding that none of these purchases or what we will be paying out comes out of general funds.
It does not come out of general funds. It comes out of monies that are allocated from federal grants. That's correct.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Trustee Klein.
Yeah, Steve, is there any more money in these grants? And if so, do we have plans for them? And what's the timeline?
I'm sorry, I missed you a little bit. Can you repeat that?
Sure. This is all grants, and it's phenomenal that we're getting all this stuff. I'm just curious. There are sunset provisions on these grants. We have to spend the money by a certain time.
Yeah.
So do we have anything left on the wish list? And if so, do we have money left to get there? Or is that something you're still working on?
We're working on, we have accounted for, so some of the funds are due to be spent by December. The rest are have to be spent by September of 21. So we have maybe $500,000 left at the most. Things like we've purchased a lot of PPE. You've seen masks, thousands of those. Lots of machines in the event we have a COVID situation in the district. So we have, and I can give you guys a full accounting of that, but we have money left still. I'll call it contingency, just not knowing what could be next. So we've got about, $400,000 to $500,000 left that we would spend in the next, 10 months or so.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
I do. Lunkins.
Go ahead, Trustee Lunkins.
I just want to find out on these headphones, who are we ordering headphones for? And how many?
We're talking headphones. We're just like for students. So for students, yes, for the kids.
Okay. Are you speaking of all students, elementary students, junior high school students?
Every student, because there could be a time that whether they're, especially when they're in the classroom, that they may need to be more, focused. They may need to be able to take some of the noise out from around them. So it would be for all students, pre-K through 12.
Okay.
And the thing we're talking about is about $1 per headphone up to maybe $3 or $4, just to give you context of that cost. Sorry.
These are cheap headphones.
Yes.
And that's GSRP.
Yeah.
That includes GSRP. That's the pre-K, yes.
Yeah, okay. Because
GSRP
in the past, we have had headphones that was stored in a storage room with the technology that was never used. So I want to make sure that whatever amount of headphones that we're ordering for whatever students, they can get used.
Yeah, I agree. These headphones would be assigned to a child and not to be shared, especially because of COVID. These are not, these are not things that are going to be passed along from Johnny to Joey. These are things that so I don't know about what you're speaking about, ones that are ordered in the closet. That's unfortunate. We're not going to have that happen.
Okay. Now, are the parents going to be held liable for any headphones that come up missing?
Headphones, again, these are almost disposables. These are things that cost less than $5. So the answer is no.
You got parents that's gonna ask that question.
We're not as concerned about losing $1 or $2 headphones. We're more concerned about damage to Chromebooks and devices like that, that are much more valuable.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Trustee Corcoran.
Oh, thank you. The question that I had was in regards to the inventory, because you spoke of a lot of millions. And I just thought to ask, is there any type of inventory such as like our cleaning equipment, everything that we're purchasing, like is it designated to where, which school it's going to? Are we going to be able to just keep track of it at the end of the day when it's, I mean, well, the headphones probably wouldn't come back,
Right.
but, you know, the other, important items such as the Chromebooks, the cleaning supplies, the vacuums, and all those other type of equipments.
Yeah. So fixed assets, things that can easily walk away, like Chromebooks, right? They're inventory tagged. Scrubbers, they're assigned to a building. Things that are more expensive, we put on a fixed asset listing for the audit that's required by our policies. But other things that are, even though they're only 100 and something bucks, they're tagged and they're required to be inventoried for federal grant reasons. So they are all now PPE. No, we're not inventorying gloves and stuff like that. Although we do have an inventory account, we just don't tag them, obviously. But things that are expensive or things that could easily walk away, I would say, we highly, can walk away. Those are things that we tag and we inventory. Yes.
Any other questions from the board? Not, we can thank you so much, Mr. Barr. We can move on to 4D, Ms. Carol Diglio, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
Hey, everyone. Just a few quick updates. One, tomorrow is our flu shot clinic for all of our staff and board members. Even though we are still staying out of the buildings for the most part, we are able to move the clinic outdoors because the weather's been so great. So if you are interested in getting a flu shot and you haven't signed up, it's not too late. You may drive in to 13900 Grandson as though you're going to the back of the administration building. And there's the Nova building by door 12. You'll see the nurses and Miss Sherman set up out there, and we will be able to administer your flu shot. We ask that everyone wear masks, and part of the good weather is going to allow us to optimize our social distancing. So we'll stay very COVID safe while trying to safeguard you against the flu. I also want to publicly remind everyone that Oak Park, in collaboration with Ascensions, is going to hold not just one, but two immunization and flu clinics for children. As you know, and you've probably read in my board updates, we are feverishly, no pun intended with the flu season, sorry, but we are working really hard to make sure all of our children are immunized, especially during a global pandemic, and also because it's law. So November 17th and December 3rd, children of Oak Park schools and the Oak Park community can come to the high school gym. We are giving away raffle prizes and goodie bags and other items. And we really just want kids and their families to come and get immunized. If November 17th or December 3rd do not work, Miss Rosanda Dorsey, our nurse in the high school through Ascensions, she will take appointments Monday through Friday of any of our kids K-12 that need to be immunized. It needs to be done by appointment so that she can order the correct immunizations and have them on hand. But if you know anyone in our Oak Park school community that are in need of immunizations, there's multiple ways of taking care of that. Monday through Friday in district through the high school clinic, November 17th and December 3rd, our own immunization fairs. And then if you pay attention to the website, anytime we get immunization fair information in Macomb, Oakland, and Wayne County, we publicize that right away. And just want to really thank Shelley Sherman, my executive assistant, who has been the champion behind MICR and getting our correct information around immunizations in the district. And of course, our district nurse, Vanessa Long, while she's just newly hired, I feel like she's been part of our team for forever. And then Maddie Sabbath is the nurse, the Oakland County nurse that has been the champion behind this flu clinic. So we're working hard as a team and trying to bring all opportunities to our students so that they are healthy and well taken care of. And that's all I have for this evening. So thank you, unless you have any questions.
Trustee Bailey, Vice President Bailey, you're on mute.
Oh, I was just saying my background's a little loud. But yeah, we can move on to audience participation.
Trustee Bailey, do you want me to make the announcements?
Trustee Lumpkins, you want to go ahead and read the audience participations?
Yeah, I got it. Members of the audience are invited to participate in board meetings prior to the business portion of the meeting, following conclusion of reports, and prior to adjournment of each meeting. You will be recognized by the board president and asked to give your name and address before making your comments. Please present a concise statement of your concerns that the president may choose. Be concerned of your, The board president may choose to limit your presentation to 3 minutes, so all that in order to wish to speak may have the opportunity to do so. Thank you for your cooperation. Welcome to our meeting, and your inputs are appreciated. Thank you. Sorry about the interruptions.
All right, is there anyone that would like to speak for audience participation?
Ms. Franklin, I don't have a way of putting my name in.
Okay, just state your name and your address. And you have.
Is it okay if I go now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm Brian Hartzig, teacher of Oak Park Schools, 11515 Maple Creek Court, Washington, Michigan. And I guess I want to clarify with you, Ms. Franklin. Do we speak about things that come later in the meeting?
When I was
well, actually, I'm Crystal. Sorry about the name.
Okay.
And
is one-way communication.
To make the coffee, that was so
you can
cool.
Speak about whatever it is you like to speak.
All right. So super. I would like number one, if I could ask the board.
Everybody
and okay. Let me know when I'm ready.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I would like to ask not only Steve, but also Dr. Hitchcock, if we're purchasing these new Promethean boards, can we, I know there's a December deadline. I'm sorry, what?
It's one-way communication, so you state you make a statement.
Okay, so these are facetious questions, right? So to the board, whatever. It would be my recommendation that we wait until the very last minute until the board and administration have made a decision to purchase, even if we put a PO out there for Promethean boards to be purchased at the latest and greatest upgrade before we actually put them in the classroom because of the times. If that makes sense, like if I go buy a TV, obviously I want the latest TV, but we can wait for a little bit. Even if we put out the money or a deposit to get those TVs or the Promethean boards in with the latest upgrades so they don't go out of style or out of use prior to us coming back. Secondly, I wanted to speak on something from later in the meeting off the agenda was the purchase again, and I know I brought this up last week or 2 weeks ago as well, the truck. I'm hoping that some board member or someone could explain to the audience why we buy trucks for people to plow our snow, that we hire to plow our snow. And I'm sure there's reasons, and I know they come out of different funds. I'm not trying to upset anyone, but at the same time, if I came over to your house and you paid me to mow your lawn, I wouldn't ask you to borrow your lawnmower. So those are kind of the two things that I would like some clarity on, or hopefully the community would as well, to see what's going on with that. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else that for public comment that'd like to speak? Okay, I don't see anyone, so we can move on to 6, our action item. 6A, purchase of audio enhancement system, which is also 7A. Steve, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, so this kind of goes in combination with the information item below that we're asking you to consider for approval tonight. So the first one is the audio enhancement system, and there's a memo in your packet from Ryan Velzy, and this is for 350 units, 350 rooms for from VSC. Now, we've spoken in previous meetings about cooperative bidding, where you can buy things where other organizations already bid, whether it's a city, a county, or a school district, the state, the government, U.S. government, whomever. So many of these, or in this case, the Holly area schools in some cases also. So this purchase is in cooperation with REMC, which is the state of Michigan bid, cooperative bid, along with some labor pricing from Holly area schools. You can see, we spoke earlier, Ryan did, about what these are. Again, speakers and ceilings. Teachers have a type of microphone device that will work to, so students can really hear the teacher better in our classrooms. The recommendation is to purchase these units from VSC for $499,043. Now, there was a comment earlier, and I'll address it for all of these. You know, some things we're getting, for example, Prometheans, buy 2, get 1 free. These companies are very busy. We're going to get companies to put things in when we can get them to put them in. And we'll get software upgrades. We get things like that, whether it's Prometheans or audio enhancement, what have you. We don't get to pick and choose and say, hey, we're Oak Park Schools, install our 300 tomorrow or on December 20th. We don't risk losing any funds in this district, not $1. So trust me that we are very confident in what we're doing in terms of when we're ordering things. There's many districts who are struggling with being able to do what we're doing. And thank goodness for our tech department and Oakland schools who can really push us through this very quickly and efficiently and effectively. So the first recommendation is for the audio enhancement system purchase from VSC for $499,043. If you have any questions, I'm happy to address them.
Go ahead, Trustee Goodfriend.
Yeah, Mr. Barr, in regards to what we're saying is the pricing actually came out when it was done with Holly schools, and we latch on to that same pricing as well.
The labor portion of it, the labor portion is from Holly. We're going to get the equipment portion. There's the equipment and there's labor to install it. The equipment is coming from the REMC bid, which is a state of Michigan bid. And then the labor pricing is from the Holly area schools bid. That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Corcoran, did you have something to say?
Yeah. I was just noticing, like I did, read the memo, but in that memo, I know it talks about the pricing, but I noticed that it never talks about like the actual Promethean,
Promethean. We're on the audio enhancement. We'll get to the Promethean in a minute, but yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, are these boards, like, I know with, Apple phones, they come out every 12 months and, you can get on this program where you can upgrade every 12 months to the new high-tech cell phone. So with those boards, because I remember seeing some of those boards about maybe 6 years ago, but I don't know, do those boards work like a computer where it's like an upgrade kind of thing?
Well, the boards are not something you replace every year or two. I mean, these are things that have a life of generally between 5 to 8 years, and ours have lasted longer than that. So this is not this will have a longer life than an iPhone, as your example. I mean, these are large. Ryan, what size are these? Ryan, are these 75-inch devices? I mean, I know we're talking about something different, but
Crystal.
so can we?
75-inch, 75.
Yeah, and that's Prometheus. I was really on the audio enhancement first, but
yeah, we're Crystal. I mean, I'm so Dawn. We're on action item 6A, 6 alpha.
We're on the audio.
Oh, she said 7A. I'm
No,
sorry.
we're on 6A, purchase of audio enhancement systems.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Which was the same memo though, actually.
Which is the same. It is the same.
There's
It's
separate memos under information for each one of the purchases. Under information, there's separate memos for each one of the purchases. So any questions on the audio enhancement systems?
Audio enhancement. I know I'm not like audio savvy, but I do love going to concerts. And this audio, is it like second grade, third grade? You know what I mean? Like, is there a grade system to the sound, or is it just a normal, because some sounds you can have it surround sound, or just, is it for that classroom so they can hear?
This is a speaker system you're putting in a classroom with speakers in the ceiling. A teacher wears a microphone, and it's really that simple. It's just really, you're putting a speaker system within a classroom for the instructor that they can amplify their voice. That's all it is. Doesn't matter if it's pre-K or it's 12th grade.
Yeah, sorry, Steve. Just, these systems really have been developed by audiologists who focus on improving the listening skills of students. So they're specifically tuned to maximize the speech patterns for students to hear the speech patterns of whoever's speaking into the microphone. They're a very specialized product, and there's 3 or 4 manufacturers in the space that manufacture cloud sound amplification systems for schools. And audio enhancement is one of the market leaders in that. And there's some science behind how much students pick up with their audio skills when they do hear, when they're installed in the classroom. Sorry for that additional information.
Yeah, thank you. Because I was actually, that's where I was going to go with it, because I just recently was listening to a friend of mine. They were doing online classes, and they were able to speed up and slow down the microphone. So that's why I was asking, is this more compatible to, controlling of course, the volume, and then as you just stated. So
there's actually on the lapel, there's actually a record button, and there's software that we will be rolling out with that the teachers could, if they choose to, record that audio and do exactly what you're saying, to listen to the tracks. That is availability. And those are enhancements that we will be covering with our technology integrator once we get the physical systems deployed.
Yeah, because it would only be simple to people who probably wouldn't even know about audio or any technical things. But I just so happened to hear that. So I just wanted to know, was it just more than a speaker up on the ceiling and they're going to talk into it? But now they'll be able to record. Thank you. That's what I was trying to know. Thank you.
Thank you. We have confirmed with this company the ability to get these in before December and installed. So we're very happy with VSC, who's the company that's worked in school districts for decades.
The other thing we did look at through this process is, your facility assessments and technology assessments that you've been discussing over the last couple of months, that this system would tie into possibly PA and other systems that we'll be looking at in the future. So we believe that this purchase is a smart purchase because it has the capability to tie into other systems that, if your capital campaign is successful in the future, we'll be able to tie into that.
So if there's no other question, we're just seeking approval for this so we can purchase this again from federal funds. Thank you.
Yeah, so we can call to action on an audio enhancement. Pat, can you call?
Okay, you're going to have someone.
You want me to read the motion?
Oh, yes. Tracy Smith.
Recommend a motion, purchase of audio enhancement systems. Purchase of classroom audio and enhancement systems resolve that the Board of Education authorize the purchase.
Mom, what are you doing?
uh,
You in there eating something?
Dawn, Trustee Corporate, can you put your, thank you. I'm sorry. Let me start over. Purchase of audio enhancement systems. Recommended motion, purchase of classroom audio enhancement systems. Resolve that the Board of Education authorize the purchase of sound amplification systems consisting of ceiling mounted speakers, a wall mounted amplifier / receiver, cabling, and a wireless wearable microphone in an amount not to exceed $499,043 from VSC. The pricing is based upon the REMC cooperative bid and reciprocal pricing from Holly area schools.
Support.
Supported by
Ms. Lunkins.
Ms. Lunkins. Thank you.
I support.
Okay, moved by, was it Lunkins? Sorry.
Yes.
Smith, supported by.
Yeah. So motion moved by.
You gotta call the roll.
Call the roll.
Bailey,
Yes.
Cochran,
Yes.
Goodfriend,
Yes.
Lunkins,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
and Smith.
Yes.
Thank you. We can move on to action item. Is it 6B?
6B.
6B.
6B. So the next one is 6B, which is the classroom technology equipment. This is really two pieces. This is purchasing a large monitor with the ability to dock, and that a dock means that you would leave, a teacher would leave their monitor on the desk all the time. The computer, the keyboard and mouse would be plugged in, other devices as necessary, and then their laptop becomes their desktop and their portable device. They literally come in, plug in, and go. So now they have a 24-inch screen, not pulling cables out all the time. So the first thing is really the docking monitors, and many of you probably in your work life may have a docking station. It works very similar, but it's actually higher tech. And the second one is document cameras, which teachers are very familiar with. It's updating all the document cameras in the school district. Again, these are all, both these purchases are available, the docking monitors and the document cameras, under the state of Michigan's REMC cooperative bid. So we ask for the approval on those also. This would again be purchased 100% from some of the federal COVID funds. Thank you.
I'd be happy to read the resolution, Ms. Vice President.
I have okay. Never mind.
Please, Trustee Goodfriend.
Thank you. Resolve that the Board of Education authorize the purchase of HPE 24D docking monitors from Intercom in the amount of not to exceed $86,295. The pricing is based upon the REMC cooperative bid. Also, the recommendation that the Board of Education authorizes the purchase of a Vision F17-8M document cameras from CWG in an amount not to exceed $60,720. The pricing is based upon the REMC cooperative bid. Thank you.
Mrs. Goodfriend, if I can interrupt you for a second, I don't think the motion was updated, Ms. Greer, to on for the docking monitors, that's going to come from C-High Computer Products in the amount of, that was the update I gave you, Pat, on Friday.
Oh, okay.
Should be from C-High Computer Products in the amount of $88,800. I'm sorry, Ms. Goodfriend, you weren't given the update. The company Intercom was not able to maintain that price. So we had to go to the next lowest bidder, which was C-High Computer Products.
So if you would be good enough to send that on to us, all board members, so we have it in our records, I'd appreciate it.
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. So that's still.
So can we just ask this though? So the change is that we're still with the same company, C-High.
No.
No.
Yes, C-High's right.
Right.
C-High's right, $88,800, but I think Miss Goodfriend was reading off the resolution, not the board report. So it's C-High, yes, Mr. Smith, for $88,800.
Okay.
This is written in the board report for Mr. Velzy.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
That was a last minute change. The company Thursday night notified us that they could not match the price or meet the price. So thank you.
Okay, support.
Support. Yeah.
Okay, supported by trustee Klein, read by Max, trustee Goodfriend. We can call the roll.
Smith,
Yes.
Lunkins,
Yes.
Klein.
Yep.
Bailey,
Yes.
Goodfriend,
Yes.
and Copperin.
Yes.
Thank
Okay,
you.
we
And the last one, Ms. Bailey, is the Promethean upgrades that we spoke about earlier. These are for the high school in Nova, and you may ask why not all the district? Well, the rest of the district has really pretty newer devices in their rooms. So there's no reason to replace the ones at the elementaries or at OPA. So this recommendation is in your packet, should be CDWG in the amount of $330,561. Again, from the state of Michigan REMC cooperative bid, to be paid 100% from federal COVID funds. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
And it seems the question was a valid question that was generated from the community. The versioning of these Promethean boards, will we be held by at bay for any upgrades that, for these boards? I mean, will our contract and it allow us to have the latest and greatest upgrades as, school potentially reopens? So say, for example, if in 6 months that the school reopens, then will we have the latest and greatest software and packages that are be affiliated with these boards to provide to our school district?
Ryan, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, sure. So think of these as two components. There's the hardware side and then the software side. So the hardware is a physical piece of hardware, as you know, will be mounted in the classroom. That is I would call it an 8-year average lifespan.
Okay.
Plan for.
Right.
And
So
that
shelf life.
modern technology in it, like HDMI DisplayPort technology.
Right.
And we're actually migrating away from a technology like a VGA, the old
Understood.
pins that you used to have on your laptops. So we're actually pulling that technology up and moving a whole 2 generations of physical, the way that you connect to these boards. And so those standards, last 10, 15 years. So from that physical board standpoint, yes, these boards have, we're buying the latest that's available from the manufacturer.
Okay.
As far as the software, yes, we get updates for 5 years. Part of this purchase is actually a warranty and support for 5 years. So the notebook software that the teachers use to develop interactive lessons and all that, we will get updated as updates come out through Promethean. Promethean is one of the market leaders in smart technology. They're smart in Promethean. And then there's a whole bunch of players that don't even come close to what the 2 market leaders do. So,
okay. All right. Thank you.
I'll state also regarding the Prometheans, we're preparing these technologies as if we come back to school on January 19th.
Right.
It could be January 19th, February, March, next year, who knows? We can't wait till January 1st and go, okay, let's go install them all.
Understood.
It doesn't quite work like you go pick them up at Lowe's or Best Buy and say, let's go install them. It doesn't quite work that quickly.
Right. Understood.
So, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Ready for the motion?
Yes, somebody please read it.
Resolved that the Board of Education authorize the purchase of Promethean AP7 B75 NAQ 420B2G1 75-inch titanium active panels, mounting and associated cabling from CDWG in an amount not to exceed $330,561. Pricing is based on the REMC cooperative bid.
Support.
Moved by myself, supported by trustee Goodfriend. Can we call the roll, please?
Klein,
Yes.
Culprin,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Goodfriend,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
and Lunkins.
Yes.
And the last
Motion
action
passes.
item, the last action item from the business office is the purchase of the maintenance vehicle. This was presented to you 2 weeks ago. Questions that nothing's come up from the board, but from a community member. Why would we buy a 250 not a 150? Well, when you're plowing the snow that we're going to plow, and when you're hauling a salt spreader around with the amount of salt that we put on it, many school districts get a 350. We think a 250 is adequate for what we need. It is not recommended to go for less than a 250. Second of all, in case you're wondering, not that you've asked me, but why would we buy something for another company to use? Well, let's talk about First Student. First Student buys all their school buses. You know, we're getting charged for those. Right? This is not about someone to come plow your driveway for $400. If we would own our own school buses, First Student wouldn't charge us as much. Since they own our school buses, you know, they charge us a portion, like a depreciation of those every year. So you can pick your poison, so you're going to pay for it one way or another. Same thing with vehicles, right? So we have maintenance vehicles. We can pay the lease on them, or DM Burke can pay the lease on them. We're going to pay for one way or another. We can sit here and have them buy a plow truck, or we can buy the plow truck. We're going to pay for it one way or another. We can buy a security vehicle that's sitting in front of the high school, or they can pay for it, or they can buy it. Guess what? We're paying $475 bucks per month for that. So we're going to pay for whatever is being utilized, whether it's we're paying for it first, or they're paying for it and billing us back for it. That's the way that it works in big business type things like this. Thank you.
May I just add one thing, if
Yes.
it's all right, Vice President Burley? Yeah, so I was also thinking of that question as well. And I would think, what if in the best case that we decided to bring our maintenance personnel in-house?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just another thing. So I just want to kind of just share that as well.
Well, it's a good point, Mr. Smith. If you bring your maintenance staff in-house, we have the vehicles to use, right? If we decided to bring which is the reason that we have our own vehicles. If we decide to bring our transportation in-house, guess what? We would have to buy a lot of buses.
Right.
At up close to 100,000, 120,000 a piece. We purchase our custodial equipment. Who uses it? They use it. Okay.
Right.
If we would have them buy it, meaning DM Burr, we're going to pay them for the use of the equipment. No different. Right. But if we ever change companies, guess what? It's our equipment, and it can go from company to company or back to the school district if we decide to ever go in-house. So absolutely. The school bus is a harder one because we've got a value of close to $4 to $5 million of buses out there. So that's not something we'd easily bring back in-house if we ever decide to do that one day. There'd be a lot of buses to buy.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Mr. Block.
Thank you.
Also, I'd like to say that when we contracted with DM Burr at the time, let's talk about our buses. We had our own buses. They were getting old. Okay. And as they deteriorated, then part of that agreement was for DM Burr to take on the ownership and the buying of them. So that's the way it was done when we initially joined forces. We didn't have I think we had the one bus was our newest, which was about 3 or 4 years old. Other than that, they had pretty good use. So after that time, Mr. Barr, that was before your time. It's what, about 10 years ago, 9-10 years ago.
Yeah.
Then they took over. That was a part of the agreement that we had. Once those buses deteriorated and could no longer be used, then they went out and did it. But we're paying, in end result, it's a rental is actually like what we're talking about in our monthly and yearly maintenance costs.
And absolutely right, Ms. Goodfriend. And you said DM Burr. I think you meant First Student on the buses, but
First Student, yes.
We just phased out our last 5 school buses this year that we owned as a district, and now First Student is basically they're having their own buses. So it's much easier when we don't have a bond issue. We haven't had bond issues, you know, in 12 plus years. To take $100,000 a bus out of general fund would be a real not good. So but yeah, absolutely right. It's a big spend if you got to buy them yourself for those kind of things. A truck, no big deal. Custodial equipment, not a big deal. Bus, big deal.
That's right. I agree. Thank you.
Ready for
So
the
we're
motion.
seeking approval for that truck so we can get it in case it snows this year.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay.
So we have any board meetings that like to read?
Okay, I'll take this. Approval of recommended motion, purchase of maintenance vehicle, approval of 2020 Ford F-250 snowplow truck. Resolved that the Oak Park Board of Education approved the purchase of a 2020 Ford F-250 snowplow truck from Gorno Ford in the amount of $44,324 with funds expended from the general fund. The truck will be equipped with a 8-foot by 6 plow, 8-foot by 6-inch plow, Western plow, a 2-yard Western V-box salt spreader, and a trailer package that includes brakes and wiring. Also included a light package for safety when plowing.
Support.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Welcome.
Supported by trustee Lumpkin, read by trustee Smith. Ms. Greer, can we call the roll?
Lunkins,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes, ma'am.
Cochran,
No.
Smith,
Yes.
and Goodfriend.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Motion passed. We move on to 7. Well, we go down to information items and we skip down to 7D, superintendent evaluation process. So with this, we need to schedule a date that works with the board as well as the superintendent for the superintendent self-evaluation.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we table this until all the school board members are available to make this decision.
Yeah.
Who isn't here, Mr. Smith?
Excuse me?
Who isn't here for
Mr.
the?
Holder.
Mr. Hoyter, President Hoyter.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I did a debriefing before this meeting with President Hueda. So, excuse me. I did a briefing with President Hueda before this meeting. So I don't think there's a reason to wait. Anyone else?
If for any reason, it can always be changed. It's within a week or so.
All right, then I withdraw my motion.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so Dr. Hitchcock, there a date, time that you'd like?
What is the board's timeline to complete the evaluation?
What is your contract?
You said timeline? By December 14th meeting.
There you go.
Okay. And so what I'm thinking is we should probably build backwards from there. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Okay.
From December 14th meeting.
14th?
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right.
So our meeting together has to be, do you vote on December 14th? Are we having a closed session on December 14th? How does that work?
That's your decision.
Closed session.
Well, we have to schedule, we have to
My
schedule.
understanding is that Mr. Hoyter shared a schedule with Miss Bailey.
Not exactly, but he did let me know that we want to have this done before a December 14th meeting. So we need to, as a board, along with you, Dr. Hitchcock, schedule a date and time for a closed session, as well as a time and date for your the submission for your self-evaluation.
So should our closed session be at the November 23rd board meeting?
That works for me.
Works for me.
It would have to be after the board meeting.
First, you have to get a document.
Right. When do you need the self-evaluation to be completed in order to do your end?
Probably by the end of that week.
Which week?
The week of the 23rd.
That's you guys are gonna do it over Thanksgiving? You guys are gonna do it over Thanksgiving?
Oh, Thanksgiving's Thursday. We should have. Well, we do it that Wednesday.
What?
Yeah.
No, I'm just talking out loud. Okay, we got Thanksgiving's like that Wednesday or Thursday?
Thursday.
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 Always on Thursday.
It has to be done by December
14th.
So before that meeting on December, no.
I mean,
Yeah.
well, what
We also need to decide if we will have a facilitator help with this. So, what from MASD?
Yeah, we normally use MASB.
For sure.
do you want me to have the self-assessment done by the 20th? Then if there was something that needed to be discussed,
We discuss at the meeting
on the
next
23rd
Friday.
and then closed session on the 14th. I'm not sure what all it entails, so I'm willing. I'm flexible. So whatever works for everybody, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay. Well, the 20th is next Friday.
Yeah.
Friday is a problem for some of our members.
I thought that Friday.
No, that's the day that the superintendent is submitting her self-evaluation.
Yeah, I'm asking, is that appropriate to submit the self-evaluation?
Sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah. Now we just need to schedule a date for the board to meet in closed session due to the evaluation. So
Does it necessarily have to be
following that?
Does it necessarily have to be on a meeting date, or
No.
We're gonna need some time. We're gonna need some time for this.
Right, but superintendent decides whether she wants to close or open session. As far as the date, we decide on the date.
It's closed, Trustee Lumpkin.
She wants a closed session?
When we're speaking about the superintendent's evaluation, it's closed
I know,
session.
but she decides whether she wants an open or closed.
That's her decision.
Okay, Dr. Hitchcock, would you like it open or closed?
Closed.
Okay.
Okay. So now we just need to schedule a date, the board, to meet in a closed session.
So I guess this is just a clarifying question. When you guys meet in a closed session, that's to share the outcome of the evaluation with the facilitator, right? And that's what has to be done on December 14th?
No, the subcommittee meets first.
No, we want to pass the evaluation.
Oh, you passing the subcommittee?
Excuse me, Trustee Lumpkin. I'm responding to Dr. Hitchcock. So the process must be completed so that we can pass the evaluation at the December 14th meeting.
Right.
So we need to have a special meeting to go into closed session then, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So what works for all of you? Do you want to do November 30th, a Monday, or the 7th, or what works for you guys?
Let me say that we try to keep the Mondays open for board members so that we can always work our schedules that way.
Okay, so November 30th.
We don't have a meeting that day either.
That's fine with me.
Well, you know what, now that I'm thinking about that, I really don't know what all you have to do on your end. But if I give you the self-assessment by November 20th, that next week is basically Thanksgiving. Is that going to give you enough time by the 30th to complete it? Or should we move it further into early December? If it is, then that's fine. I just don't.
I mean, we can do the 7th of December.
Can we go for the 7th of December? We move for that one?
That's a Monday, 7th of December.
As long as there's no board meeting. Get down, Bella.
Is everybody on board with December 7th?
Yes. So then, so if we do December 7th, it'll be the closed session for the board to meet. And then we'll do another closed session with the superintendent. Closed session. Because there's 2 dates. So we'll do December 7th and
You only have one more week after that and it has to be completed.
yeah, we can do that Wednesday if that's okay with everyone.
What date is that?
The 9th.
Wednesday the 9th.
It will be the 9th.
Okay. It's okay with me.
Okay, and everybody agrees for a facilitator from MSAB?
Well, we weren't asked to.
When you talking about getting the facilitator?
I'm asking the board now, would you all like to have a facilitator from the,
yes.
He want to see what's going on.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So all in favor of a MSAB facilitator for the superintendent evaluation, say aye.
Aye.
All who oppose, say nay. Okay, we have no nays, so we will have a facilitator from MSAB.
Okay. What's the date for that one?
The 9th.
That is the 9th of December.
The 9th of December?
At what time?
How's 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock works for me.
On both days.
On the 7th and the 9th?
Works for me.
Works for me.
No problem.
Okay.
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 Okay, and then the 20th is the date that Dr. Hitchcock will be submitting her self-evaluation.
November.
Yes. Okay. Yep, November 20th.
Yep.
Okay. Sounds good?
Sounds good.
Perfect. Okay, if that's it, then we can move on to communication. Is there any communication from the board?
I have one thing.
Go ahead, Trustee Smith.
Yes. So I wanted to personally congratulate both Trustee Griffin on her reelection to the Oak Park School Board. Also to Trustee Klein as he's been elected for the current seat.
Thank you.
And I also would like to extend a shout out here to Mr. Al Elvin, who is one of our newly elected board members. And I see that Mr. Elvin is online. So we'd like to say congratulations to him as well. Thank you.
Yes, congratulations to everybody.
Thank you.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, that's it.
Any other communication from the board?
One thing this weekend we had the MASB conference. Everything, it was really different because we're used to either driving there and socializing, but it was something different.
Yes,
but it worked out though.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you, Trustee Corcoran. And I don't see anybody else have any more communications. No? Oh, okay. Go ahead, Trustee Goodfriend.
Yes, I want to thank Mr. Barr for getting the parking lot workable for the election. It was because I kept driving by and watching this going, and it was touch and go, really more go than touch. The other thing, one thing, there was a terrible problem from that is there were no lights. Now we're on no longer daylight saving time. At 7 o'clock, it was pitch black. You couldn't even see the white of a person's eyes. And it was very difficult for people walking in or driving in. In fact, one of DM Burr's persons came by and she had tinted glass and couldn't see to get into the parking lot. That's how dark it was. And not just for Mrs. Goodfriend, who has some night vision problems, I had to have someone come and drive and put a light on so that I could see to walk to my car. So I would certainly hope that those lights would be taken care of. Burr was called and said that they were not workable.
Was this at Opa, Mrs. Goodfriend? Was that at Opa? Was that at Opa, Mrs. Goodfriend? You're speaking?
At Opa.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm disappointed in that because they were out there before the election installing new light poles. So I will check on that immediately because that's unacceptable.
Well, this young woman called DM Burr, I think his name is Artie or something, I'm not too sure, who's in charge, and he said they were not workable. The lights were not workable and had not been connected. It was very dangerous and very bad.
I will check on that in the morning because that's disappointing to hear and it's not acceptable. So I agree with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Trustee Goodfriend. We have no others, then I make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Support. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for tonight's meeting. The meeting has.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Isn't there community at the end as well?
Yes.
Not on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay, open it up.
Okay. Public comments. Do we have any other public comments? Someone like to speak?
I would. Sorry to interrupt. I just thought there was public comment at the end as well.
It normally is. I apologize. It wasn't on the agenda, but yeah. Trustee Lumpkins, if you could go ahead and say the language for public comments, please.
Or do we just want to let them know to state their name and address?
Trustee Lumpkins, are you able to read the language for audience comments, participation?
Trustee Bailey, he could just state his name and address.
Okay.
I got it. Members of the audience are invited to participate at board meetings prior to the business portion of the meeting, following conclusion of reports, and prior to the adjournment of each meeting. You will be recognized by the board president and asked to give your name and address before making your comments. Please present a concise statement of your concerns. The board president may choose to limit your presentations to 3 minutes, so all who wish to speak may have the opportunity to do so. Thank you for your cooperation. We welcome your input and appreciate you at our meetings.
Thank you. You can go ahead and state your name and address.
Thank you. Peter Hahn, 207 Curry Avenue, Royal Oak, Michigan. I teach English at the high school. I am certainly excited about the new technology that Mr. Barr presented upon today. I just do have a few questions or things to consider, and perhaps this is something that some of those extra funds could be spent for. First of all, Promethean boards are fantastic as long as the pens work, and they're very delicate. And for those that don't know, they have these little tips that come out, and if you drop it by accident, it breaks and you have to get a new tip for the board to still work. So I would like for them to consider at least getting some extra tips or extra pens, because those are a limiting factor. The other component of the Promethean boards are the projectors that are mounted on the ceiling, and those are a separate component. And I didn't hear that they're getting new projectors, and I don't know that we need new projectors, but what I know is that the bulbs are extremely expensive and they're odd. It's not like a regular light bulb that just burns out and goes, out immediately. They just get dimmer and dimmer and dimmer and dimmer over time. And so I would also like to perhaps have the district consider purchasing some of those, especially if we're going to be using these boards as much as we will to be teaching kind of in this virtual fashion, even face-to-face. But to go with that whole projector thing, my classroom is on the Coolidge parking lot, which has east-facing windows, which is a blessing and a curse. I love it in the morning with the sun, but during first, second, and third hours of the day, which is pretty much until about 10:30, my room is so bright because the window coverings are inadequate. Like they're broken, they're missing. And so the room becomes so bright that the kids can't even see the board, even if I turn the lights off. Some teachers have tried to put paper up or things. I mean, just so hopefully we can make sure that the window coverings are replaced before we move back into the building with this new technology. The one question I had about the audio is I think somebody mentioned it being up in the corner, and I thought that's an odd placement for something, especially when we have to spread the kids out. Am I saying something wrong, Steve? Because you're shaking your head. You're muted.
It's one-way communication.
You know, it's one way. We can talk after.
Oh, okay.
It's not accurate, so we can talk later.
Then don't shake your head when I'm talking. So, and then the last concern I have is, and this was, Mr. Smith brought this up, was the testing. There was one test that was canceled, and I thought it was the PSA 10. I'd have to ask to be certain, but it was the day that we did not actually go into the building because of safety issues. I didn't think it was a rescheduled test. I thought it was the 10th grader PSAT. So maybe that is something we can reschedule. I don't know, but I would double check that because I don't know that that was 100% accurate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hahn, for your comments. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak for public comments? Okay. State your name and your address.
Okay, I'm Brian Hartzig again from Washington, Michigan 11515, Maple Creek. And I guess I know I heard Steve say there was 400,000 to 500,000 left out of these funds, and I hope that I know we have a $90 million big plan to revamp our district.
Damn, you're still unmuted.
But I'm hoping that at some point we can look at those small things that need to be taken care of for our district, whether it be parking lot lights, which I'm sure are already included, pens, whatever needs to be done, printers for classrooms, upgrading some of these things, stockpiling cartridges. I hope that we can use some of those things for when we come back, that we're ready. I know Steve has been preparing. I know our administration team, the board has been preparing. But let's not forget some of those small things like missing blinds, etc. But I just hope that we can take that money before the deadline and really put it to use on things that are going to be beneficial to the children when they come back to school. And that not only includes things within the building, but also textbooks, etc., paper, pencils, to make sure we're ready to receive these children. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for public comments? If there is no one else for public comments at the time, then we can make a motion to adjourn.
I have a comment before we move to adjourn. I just want to comment. Some of the community members, and it's a one-way communication, but I think that I'm going to one-way communicate back and not necessarily pinpoint anything in particular to answer to, but just to reiterate a point that the administration has made a few times, especially with respect to all these purchases that we have. These are not out of the general fund. We have specific mandates and specific areas that we're allowed to spend this money in. And so when we look at those things, we have to remember that we have certain buckets that we're allowed to hit with that money. And that while all these things are on the table to better the district, we do have financial constraints and other issues. And that if we're going to bring these things in, we should bring them in more when those issues have been discussed already in a meeting. And obviously there's a process. If anybody has a particular area, including the teachers, that they want us to address at a meeting, they can bring that up beforehand and get it on the agenda. And that way we don't have, I don't want to call out anybody, and I'm specifically not, but when we have disconnected one-way communications, it winds up with these questions that wind up in the air. And I want to encourage anybody who does have something they want to see addressed at a meeting to submit that beforehand to the board or to the administration to get it on the agenda, so that all of these things can be addressed in a more two-way fashion, and we can all be more, better educated on what's going on.
Thank you, Trustee Klein.
Okay, move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, so thank you, everybody. We can adjourn this meeting at 8:36.
Do we need a next scheduled meeting, Trustee Lumpkins? You're on mute. Trustee Lumpkins, you're on mute.
Our next meeting is the 23rd, Mr. Smith.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
So we can adjourn at, excuse me, the correct time is 8:33. Thank you.
Right. Take care, everybody.
Good night.
Stay safe.